Hi everyone, my name is John. Welcome back to my channel. Today is the last Friday of the month, and what I want to do with the last Friday of the month is kind of what everyone else would call a Friday Reads. But since I don't have enough books to show you, I'm too slow of a reader to show you different books every single Friday, I'll just do these once a month with a plan on doing it the last Friday of every month. So I had 4 things that I read this month, and I'll start off with 2 of them are novels, by the way, and 2 of them are Historathon books. I'll start off with the novels, and one of them was a buddy read with Debs from Rainer Read Stuff. We read Jaroslav Hasek's The Good Soldier Svek. This is about a soldier named Svek who is enlisted in the army for the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And it is kind of the great comic novel that comes out of World War I, insofar as that can be a comedic subject. But Svek is sort of batted around like a cog in the wheel for the Empire, for its army. He's put into an insane asylum. He's a little bit blessed in the head. He probably shouldn't be in the military, but sometimes it's unclear about whether he's faking it or not. But he's just batted around, and Hasek says a lot of funny things about the Empire, about nationalism, about religion. There's a really funny religious character in here who's just a drunken mess of a person. But I have only gotten about 400 pages through this. It's 750 pages long. I think Debs may have enjoyed it a little bit more than me. After getting a little bit more than halfway through, it's a little bit one note. Svek tells these long, rambling stories. Kind of reminds me of Rosen Island from the Golden Girls. That just go off nowhere, and he does it all the time. And it wears thin after a few hundred pages. But I will finish it, maybe not in March, first week of April or so. But yeah, I was hoping to enjoy it a little bit more. But I'll finish it, and I'll write a review and come back and tell you about what I thought about the whole thing. The next book I want to show you is something I finished and that I absolutely loved and can't wait to fanboy over once I make my review video of it. So get a little bit of a preview of the fanboying now. This is by a Catholic novelist that I've always wanted to read, always heard good things about. He died a few years ago. And this is by Frederick Buechner, and it's his novel Godric. Godric is the story of a very real-life, historical English monk and ascetic named Godric of Finchale. And he lived to be around 100 years old, maybe a little bit over. He was born the year before the Norman invasion, so 1065, and died around 1170. And this tells his story. There is another person, there's a scribe, assistant amanuensis in the book named Reginald of Durham, who is also a real historical person, who wrote Godric's hagiography. And this book is all about Godric's last days as he recounts that hagiography to Reginald. But it's not the hagiography that he actually wrote. The novel is his own retelling of the story. And this is so great because it doesn't make Godric out to be some sort of saintly, godly, God-sent person. Godric emphasizes, when he's retelling his own story, his earthiness, his grittiness, his sin, all the bad decisions he made during his life, his hesitations and his theft and his greed and all of that. And he finds himself at the end of his life, he's had some religious experiences which caused him to convert and become an ascetic. And he finds himself being revered. Pilgrims come to talk to him and visit him and touch him. But he just kind of finds himself perplexed that people could think this of him when he's lived a very, very misguided life. At least part of it was. And it's so fascinating. It's so good. It's so good. There's so many interesting things to think about. And it's not done, the spectacular thing about the book is that it's not done in that sentimental, treacly way that so much religious fiction is written. This is just a really human portrait of a flawed person. And it's spectacularly done. Let me read you the first paragraph. It is written in prose that sort of consciously echoes a lot of the way that you hear about older medieval prose being translated into English if it was written in Latin. It's got that, archaic is the wrong word, but you know what I'm trying to say. This is the first paragraph. He's talking about, Reginald is writing his story, and he's telling Reginald about that he used to befriend snakes on the bank of the river Ware, where he set up where he's living. 5 friends I had, and 2 of them snakes. Tune and Fairweather they were, thick round as a man's arm, my bedmates and playfellows, keepers of my skimped hearth and hermit's heart, till in a grim pet I bade them go that day, and never more to come again. Never more to hiss their snake love when they saw me drawing near, or coil themselves for warmth about my shaggy legs. They went, they never came again. And the whole thing is written that way. It takes a couple of pages to get used to, but it's short, and it's, like I said, spectacularly good. So just wanted to alert everyone to this if you're interested. Had a lot of resonance with another book I've recently finished, which was The Confessions of St. Augustine. There's a lot of overlap in theme there. Now let me talk about the 2 history books I've been reading all month. The first of these is by the great religious historian Jaroslav Pelikan. This is Jesus Through the Centuries, His Place in the History of Culture. And this is told in 18 short chapters, very short, 10 to 12 pages. And it looks at cultural archetypes, stereotypes, prototypes of Jesus in the past 20 centuries of Christianity. The first chapter is, what is it? Let me get you. It's called The Rabbi. So Jesus as Jewish religious teacher, which makes sense for a first century interpretation of what Jesus is. And then it goes chronologically through the Middle Ages, through the Renaissance, and up through the 19th century, when you start to get the idea of textual literary criticism and more doubt being cast on the fact that he ever had anything supernatural or miraculous associated with him, but that he was nevertheless a divinely inspired moral teacher. And it sort of traces all of those, the ways that he's looked at. Christ as the true image, Christ as the Son of Man, Christ as the cosmic Christ, Christ as the light of the Gentiles, etc., etc. So, densely written. It's from Princeton University Press. This book took me 4 or 5 days to read, despite it being just a little bit over 200 pages long, because Jaroslav Pelikan can say a lot in a paragraph, so you really have to tune in and wonderfully written. You're in always wonderful hands when you read him, because he is a fascinating historian, mostly of religion. But yeah, Jesus Through the Centuries. And the last thing I read, which is a little bit out of sync with the Historathon, very, very out of sync actually, but it's some 20th century history. I was itching for something a little bit more modern. Almost wanted to say contemporary, but it's not quite contemporary. This is Square Haunting, 5 Writers in London Between the Wars by Francesca Wade. And you can see the 5 writers here. H.D., Virginia Woolf, this is Eileen Power, this is Dorothy Sayers, and this is Jane Ellen Harrison. And all of these women had in common at least one thing, and it is that during the interwar years, some of them lived there for a couple of years, some of them lived there for 2 decades. They lived in one building in Mecklenburg Square, which is, back in the 20s and 30s, a very artsy, bohemian place for writers, artists, poets, etc. And it was especially a draw for women artists who were looking to break the Victorian/Edwardian mold that was often assumed women would follow, which is be raised by your mother and father and get married as quickly as possible so your husband can take care of you. These women wanted to break out on their own, to live and think and converse and have friends on their own terms. And they each did that. And it talks about how their work overlaps with their lives, influences their lives, their social circles, their problems, their romantic concerns. It's really well done. I like it a lot. It is not a full biography of each of the 5 women. It only tells the part of their lives where they lived at that particular address. But there's a lot of resonances, obviously, that they share because of that address and because they're all intellectuals. Dorothy Sayers, of course, a mystery novelist, the creator of Lord Peter Wimsey. Jane L. Harrison is a historian. Eileen Powers, an economic historian and medievalist. We all know who Virginia Woolf is. And H.D. was a modernist poet and memoirist. A really good book. Enjoying it. About 220 pages through the 320-page book, and we'll probably finish this within the next couple of days. So that's what I've been reading during March. Let me know what you're reading. Leave me a comment. I always love comments. Always wanting to get more of them. And my next video will be the Historathon 2025 Q2 pile of possibilities. So if you're looking for something to read throughout spring, and you're interested especially in medieval Europe, that's where most of my possibilities are coming from, give that video a watch, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.